hold on to this as a weapon. But by and large, I think that the responsibility now would be on the commission before they pass the LI to try and give some clarity to this. Because if you look at some of the role of the commission, it says as much as possible you should avoid technicalities in the way you interpret these things. So I think by and large, you try and give it much more purposive and a very progressive interpretation. But for me, Samson, I think ultimately, what I want to say to the media, for instance, this issue about the fees, I mean, the ultimate decision is for Parliament to take. Parliament is not taking this decision. What are we doing as the media? We need to shift the burden of responsibility onto the parliamentarians and start asking the questions. Why are you not doing this when you know very well that some institutions are hiding behind this to frustrate the process? So why are you doing this? I think we need to start letting them know that they are the problem as well. And also, in other jurisdictions, it has come about that the media and then the commission would come into conflict. Because don't forget, it is not almost always that when an appeal goes to the commission, they would agree. There will be instances where the commission would say, yes, yes. And when that happens, the media tends to see the commission as an enemy. And when you do that, it's a tragedy because that can affect the work of the commission. We need to actually appreciate the fact that the commission has a role to play, and in playing that role is a very, very difficult situation. Let's come together, let's support the commission, and let's keep on pushing.
Thank you.
The media is a very important friend to us. We ought to work together to get this law to where it should be. Now, one thing that I think has been said here, that if we want to inform, then we should also have ourselves informed about the law. So I do not think we can just be mentioning RTI without knowing what RTI is at all. So we ought to inform ourselves. It is very important because, and you also have to be a little patient with the processes. One thing is, one case, one exposure made by one journalist can, in appropriate cases, save all of us millions of dollars. So if you want to follow a case, maybe just a letter, but it's taking some time. There will be roadblocks here and there, but persist. Persist. The law is aimed at ensuring transparency in governance. It is aimed at bringing corruption down. The moment you make a request, somebody will begin thinking that they think I have maybe misappropriate funds, which might not necessarily be the case. And again, this law is also not meant only for the media. The academia is also very important. Policy makers is also important. So please let us, we carry this message along. I wouldn't spend so much time on these matters. Now, I am very grateful to the Minister for being part of us, and Mr. Executive Secretary, convey our message to him. We're also very grateful to...
I think the first role of the media is to know the act and to understand the act. And a little anecdote I'll give you, in the build-up to the passage, you would occasionally at a press briefing get a question from a press person like, why are you not passing the RTI Act? And usually I would throw back a question in jest. That do you think that clause 90 or clause 105 of the Act as it stands now should be passed? Or do you think we should delay and deliberate on it and make an amendment? And I deliberately asked that question because there's no clause 90, there's no clause 105. But the reality was that because a good number of our journalists had not even read, the situation has changed, and the average Ghanaian journalist has acquainted himself or herself with the Act. So respectfully, I think that the first role of the journalist is to read the Act, to know the Act, to understand the Act. Because that is how you know that if you have an emergency situation or a request that borders on life or liberty, etc., it's not 14 days, it's 48 hours. That is how you know all of those issues. So that's the first one. The second one, I think has been alluded to, so I won't talk too much about it. The second role of the media is to use the act. I moderate a lot of press briefings, and I occasionally tell our colleagues that the world, especially during COVID, the world, in fact, the feedback from South Africa and Nigeria is that a lot of people were watching our COVID response from these countries. And not just watching the government response, but also watching the questions from journalists. And I draw our colleagues' attention to the fact that these questions of, I have heard that, somebody has told me that, I suppose that, I suspect that, can move a notch higher if we utilize RTI in getting the information. So I think it's been alluded to. I just want to reiterate the point that the second role of the media is actually to use the act so that a lot of our work is grounded in material that we have sourced from these public institutions. We have put about 539 RTI officers across the public institutions in this country. The truth is that many of them currently don't even have much work to do because they are sitting and waiting and nobody's bringing a request. And so